Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest.
Fred Armisen.
Fritz Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Talkhouse Podcast. I'm Josh Modell. On this week's episode, we've got everyone's favorite Canadian twin sister duo, Tegan and Sara, in conversation with powerhouse songwriter and artist LP. Now, LP has had a fascinating, winding career in the music business, starting out in the late 90s as a performer whose incredible voice attracted lots of attention in the industry. You'll hear about that in this chat, but who ended up kind of going through the ringer of that system. But LP turned their attention to writing songs for other people, which had an immediate and far-reaching effect. LP's compositions have been hits for the likes of Rihanna and Celine Dion, and for a while, it seemed like that's where LP's career would stay. But a return to performing about 10 years ago has borne some incredible fruit. And with a big personality like LP's, it's not surprising that TikTok and other social media has embraced them. LP's latest album is the powerful Love Lines. Check out a little bit of Dayglow from that album, and catch LP on tour in the US right now through the end of the month. Dates are at imlp.com. The other half of today's conversation, Tegan and Sara, started making music as teenagers and were flung into the spotlight very quickly, being signed to Neil Young's record label and opening for him when they were basically still kids. But they got some good advice, you'll hear about that here as well, that helped the twin sisters navigate the ups and downs of fame. Over the course of 25 years, they've released 10 albums, a memoir that was then turned into a TV series, a graphic novel, and much more. They are creative lifers, and the world is a better place because of it. Check out a little bit of the song Yellow from Tegan and Sara's latest album, Cry Baby.
I've been gone too long. This bruise ain't black, it's yellow. I've been gone too long. My sweet heart breaks, so be careful. But this pain ain't red, now it's a yellow. My sweetheart sings out like a devil. This bruise ain't.
In this lively conversation, you'll hear about two incredible, uncompromising careers. These three talk about how their music has not only inspired joy in other people, but also understanding. LP talks about visiting other countries where many people in the audience perhaps hadn't met a gay person, at least not knowingly. They get into all things Canada, the vital importance of a good monitor mix, the possibility of a collaboration, and the primal wound that inspires creativity. Enjoy.
Hi. Where are you right now?
I'm in LA.
At your house?
This is my house, yeah. I leave Saturday for tour. North America. I'm going into Canada.
Are you playing Vancouver on this tour?
I don't think I am. Hold on one sec. I'm very lame, and sometimes I just don't look at the fucking thing. Yeah, I'm playing Toronto, Montreal, not Vancouver, unfortunately.
Everybody leaves out Vancouver. Yeah, we were just laughing about this, that most bands, especially once you get to a place where you can really sell tickets, you play Montreal and Toronto, maybe Vancouver. But we were saying it's such a funny thing because Canada's kind of I guess it's the size of Germany or
yeah,
it's 30 million people, and that you can actually, we just were literally talking about this with our management. There's 30 playable cities, in my opinion, really good markets.
I love
but Americans
Canada.
skip it. You got to do a cross Canada tour. You got to do it all. People would freak.
Yeah. That's what I think we're trying to accomplish with the next year, a little, its own thing.
I'm going to call your agent.
Please do. Fucking call my agent. Also, I kept saying that fucking 2 beers too many or more, I don't know. And I kept saying to you, Mama kept going, let's talk about doing something. Last time I saw you guys, that's last time. We have to do something. I want to do something with you.
Well, maybe it's a cross Canada tour. So you can learn. You could
know about it. Yeah, I could just open for you guys for an entire Canada tour.
We're going out next spring with Becca Mancari. Do you know who she is?
I haven't heard her name in a minute.
Oh God, she's so great. I'm going to send you her new record. It's really good. Okay. She's coming out with us. She's doing one province, which is the equivalent of playing one state, but we're doing 13 shows in that province. And she keeps texting, I can't wait to tour with you guys in Canada. I can't wait to see Canada. And I'm like, Becca, it's only one province.
And it's going to be depressing because it's going to be March. It's going to just be cold. And they're like, these are all great markets to play, but it's sort of like, well, you do a lot of international touring. It's kind of like touring like parts of Europe that get like 4 hours of light in winter. You know, those kinds of tours.
Oh,
you know?
of course. Yeah.
You know, like a whole tour where you're just like, did the sun even come up?
Shit like that in Italy sometimes. They're like all these cities in Italy, and it'll be like they're like in a castle. It takes like hours to get there. As soon as you get there, no food's available because it's whatever the Italian siesta. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they're like eat at 11 p.m. We start at 11.
You need to sound check and do an entire show on no food.
I'm so curious. Like every time I open my TikTok, I just get so much content of yours, and it's just always and it's always you in some sort of far-flung magical place, or just like Russia. Like it's just weird or something. Like it's just always
like I don't live in this world. Like I made it all up. I don't actually exist. It's like it's a heist.
It's crazy. Like how did that happen?
That song, man, Lost in You, just kind of hit a different type of person. You know, not a different type of person. Like it just like I was told in Russia that I sound like to them, and I had like a few hits in Russia, but I sound like people like from years ago. Like my sound, my voice, and how I sing my songs kind of like have this old sound to them or something. How I would say passion, but probably the histrionicness with which I sing is like something that just makes them think of like, war and famine and hard times. I don't know. I'm not sure. Damn. But they seem to like it.
I think this is like a difficult thing to kind of translate to a North American audience. But when you're an artist and you start to have success in countries or places in Europe or anywhere in the world, I mean, we've had this experience, over our 25 years. In a handful of places, but when you go there, there's this almost assumption on your part as an artist that you have so much in common with these people. They like my music. We're going to have so much in common with each other.
Right.
But so often the music is one of the only things that connects you, and there's this kind of like cultural exchange that happens, and it can be really disorienting. Like I remember being in places where, like, for example, like, okay, people are listening to my music, so they must speak English, and you might have a fan that doesn't understand English at all, or maybe only understands like a little tiny bit of it, but there's something in your delivery or your vocals or the music that is what's connecting them. And that's so beautiful. In the reverse, like there's very few of us English speakers who are just like listening to like Italian music and we're just like, I have no idea what they're saying, but I just love it.
But examples of it, like volare. You know what I mean? Like volare. Like nobody knows. A lot of people don't know what the fuck they're singing, but there's something romantic and beautiful in it, I think. And and that and someone's voice, Edith Piaf, stuff like that. And it's weird because I do find things in common actually. And I don't know about you guys. I wonder if you ever feel like, because I know. Bear with me now. I'm going to try to explain myself without sounding like I think I'm inventing the wheel. Because I'm not. I just say like sometimes I don't know with I feel like when you roll into these countries and especially men meet you, and you're like, hey, what's up? And they're just like thinking you're gonna be like some brutal, horrible man hater, and like I don't know, it feels like you're breaking some barriers, when they kind of like, and it's because I mean, I know we think that like there's been many before us, that have like kind of broken that thing, and they have for sure. But it's still it didn't get to everybody, and everybody has their own example, and I feel like even though you think people have met a lesbian, met a gay person, a lot of people haven't, and or they have, it's their sister or their cousin or their mother or something like that, and then they're like, they're either looking to understand or looking to hate on it or looking on it, and you roll in with a song they love, and it just changes their their whole thing, and I love that part of it.
We relate. I think Sara and I have said this time and time again over like now our like this was our 25th year of touring and being in a band. And we've seen some shit, you know what I mean?
You were out there in the early days, like really, like, you know, on a high level, like, you know, like being like, yeah, go fuck yourself. You
Yeah.
know?
Even before we were maybe comfortable articulating it on stage, like our first tour was in the year 2000 opening for Neil Young. And, you know, we had short, spiky hair. You know, like we looked very visibly
Is that where the banter
gay.
came from? Like,
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
nervousness?
Yeah, filling time. It was truly just
We
to
also
fill
didn't
time.
have very many songs, you know?
Yeah, you're like absolutely winning people over, and people don't know
Which you
the
did.
songs, so you know, like you don't want to just pack the set full of music because I just think Sarah and I sort of as young people had felt that we could like win people over, charm them a bit.
Yeah.
But so we've seen a lot of weird things, and we've stood in front of a lot of audiences that I think imagined upon seeing us or hearing us that they didn't have anything in common with us. And I think, yeah, we used, we're siblings. We used to say like, I could tell when I stood on stage in front of an audience if I needed to say, we're from Canada. Like I could tell the audiences that would really buy that. Or if we were like, we're twins, like how do we chip away at it? And I used to say it's sort of like, I think exactly what you were starting to get at is that we start to transcend ignorance or prejudice or homophobia even by just winning people over, you know, whether it's sitting on a plane next to an older suit, you know, business guy and like being like, oh, do you have kids? And he's like, oh, I got a daughter. Oh, cool. What kind of music does she listen to? And like start to kind of win someone over just by like connecting with them and having them see parallels. But the more international our band got and the more we toured and traveled to places where, you know, queer people were still seen as not equal citizens and didn't have the right to marriage, or places the extreme where they were not allowed to be out or could face persecution. I think we learned that one of the things that seemed to win people over, and it's the same thing that brings people comfort, was bringing everyone together that were different, that maybe had different beliefs. And music does that, you know, like it's so cheesy, but like music is universal. It's the universal language. It creates and inspires feeling that you look around. I mean, I have that feeling still when I go to a concert. I just saw Maggie Rogers recently, and it's like I'm looking around and everyone in the audience looked so different, but everyone looked so happy, and everybody was looking at her, and she looked so happy, like ridiculously happy, and like it was like her face was on these big screens, and I just had this moment, like a reminder that music, it really does bring people together and generate something inside of us that allows us to feel like we're part of something and we're also a part of it together.
You know, you come into this room with a bunch of strangers and you just start to commune about the music of some person, and you're just like standing next to someone that you would never really maybe meet or even connect with, and you're just connecting through music. It's I'm so glad it came back, you know, because it really is like no other thing that we do, really.
Yeah.
That brings up an interesting point, because we sort of casually know each other, but I don't really know you that well.
Yeah.
And I like Tegan was saying, like, I sort of just know your internet presence and persona. And this is funny. And I hope this is not like, I hope that you'll take this as a compliment, but you remind me of someone who, like, you really live the lifestyle. Like, at least that's the projection online. Like, you're a rock star. Like, I am not a rock star.
You are, but you know, like,
no, like I'm not, but you really are. And I feel like you really present this thing even in person. Like, I know you're normal, and I know you're like a normal person, and you like wash your dishes, I assume, and stuff. But like, you know, you really like leaned into like, this is your persona. Like, you really have this like big charismatic presence online. And like, I feel like Tegan and I, one of the ways, or at least specifically me, one of the things that, you know, probably as a result of like feeling a lot of the nervousness at the beginning of our career, and feeling like one of the ways to win people over was to sort of make myself relatable as a normie, as I call it. I'm like married to a normie. Yeah. I just feel like I'm very like, I'm a normal person. And in some ways that's probably being Canadian too. Like, I always was trying to like, tone down the rock starness.
I don't call it rock star. I'm just a little bit even wilder than my presence. I have to tone it down. Like, I'm like, am I drinking too much online? Am I like, should I not? I was going to make a drink for every single like song on my new record. Then I was like, maybe I seem like I drink too much. and then I just like click it off and have a drink, you know, whatever the hell it is. I'm trying to keep a lid on it To be honest with you, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm also normal. I do wash the dishes. I will write after this, sure.
I want to add one thing to Sarah's question because I want to push on this a little bit too, because I do think it's interesting. You know, I don't want to define rock star for Sara or for you, but I just mean what I see online is just someone who, it seems like you live to perform and you live to make stuff and you live, that's when Sara says like you're living the lifestyle and really leaning in. I think for Sara and I, sometimes probably this is a bad thing, but we kind of turn off Tegan and Sara when we get home. Like we both joke like until recent, like we don't even have guitars in the house. Like it's like we're almost like forget that we're musicians. You really seem to lean into that. Is that like, can you speak to that?
I think it's, you know, because it's not just about music, in my life off when I'm off either. It's you know, it's about, you know, stuff. I don't know. It's just like, I don't think about music. It's like I go and when I want to write, I get a house and I start writing. I'm just kind of collecting and like, I don't know, hanging out. Yeah, I play music with my friends a bit, but I've been touring so much that I just like in between tours, I'm just going out and hanging out and experiencing my life and traveling a bit.
How did you know how to do this though? Like, how did you know how to like design a life that looked this way? I don't want to like compare you to another artist, but you remind me of like Axl Rose in the that November Rain video. You know, like it feels like you're like,
do that video. That's what I want.
Did you have an example of how you were going to live your creative life to its fullest? Like not just writing music, but just like living. It really seemed like you're living. Did you have an example of that? Or did you like design it based on what you didn't want?
I don't know. I just was like always very social. Like I came from like this family, like it was just like the two choices were lawyer or doctor. My older brother's a brain surgeon and I'm this, you know, and I think I just had a huge chip on my shoulder with control, and my father, like, just like, you know, his idea of what you had to do and how, you know, and he was a wild man as well, but with like, you know, he didn't deserve to be. You know, fucking pay your bills and then be a fucking wild man. You know, I'll tell you what, I pay my bills. I'm the wildest, dependable person ever. You know, everything's fucking paid for. All the bills are paid. Everything's done. You know, there's no like kind of like, whoops. I just like, you know, I didn't pay my taxes. But anyway, I don't know. I just, I joke, but I was really grateful that I got to do this at all because it was a pretty harrowing experience, you know, getting here. So I'm just like, and then I feel like I want to honor it with like just creating, and how I create is just like, I kind of just free fall like in between records. And then when I feel like I'm just bursting at the seams with like feelings, I try to get it all down. And I worry about it a little bit because I live in this precarious, like, nowheresville sometimes. I'm not trying to be like, it's not a small cry for help. But I do live in this precarious place, I feel like, where I'm always kind of waiting to like create something. But I'm, you know, I don't know, I kind of work on that a little. Like I'm present, but there's always something about to break out, like a song or something, I don't know, something like that.
What were you like as a kid?
I was just like all over the place. I don't know how you guys felt, but a very like, you know, a square peg being pounded into a round hole kind of thing. And I just was like, I don't want to do that. You know, like I'm not like, I don't want to go to school, even though I was decent at school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Had no idea where to start this fucking thing. You know, I was the youngest in all the cousins and stuff like that. My older cousin was just like, what, are you going to be a rock star? I was like, I don't know, Jim. You know, like, what the fucking kind of question is that? I don't fucking know. Like, I don't even know what that is. I felt the best and I got the most feedback when I sang, you know? And so I was just like, how to parlay that into even that, you know, I didn't even really, I like wrote stories when I was a kid, but I didn't really write poetry or anything. I had like, honestly, no idea what I was doing. And so I'm continuously marveling at like where I landed. So I think I'm just having a good fucking time. You know, I like when Jim Morrison says in the Doors movies, I'm just, or no, he says it in real life, I'm gonna just get my kicks before the whole shit house goes up in flames. That's basically the epitaph that I'm wrangling for.
Is there a point in your career that you can track back to and be like, oh, I made this mistake and that's like you took the route, like the long way? Like,
I always took the long way. Did you guys have that?
Yeah. Yeah, of course we did.
I could have taken this straight path. Instead I took.
Yeah. But I think we were signed right out of high school and
yeah, it's huge.
And thankfully someone jumped in really early on and was like, do not sign to a major label and do not sign a record deal in Canada. And the reasons for that were laid out for us, but I don't think we understood exactly why, but we just, our instincts told us to listen to that. And so we took like a very, 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 very long route to any sort of commercial or financial success. But I'm so grateful because that time was when we developed who we were and we did it pretty anonymously. So even though it was really hard and those years are pretty rough when I look back at them, those were years of development we wouldn't have gotten if we taken the other path.
I think the equivalent for me is the when I saw I had an indie deal in 2001 and then another like a decent sized indie and then a small one in 2004 and then I was just touring like balls of your ass touring with a few guys in a band. And then I got my first major label deal in 2006. And I didn't have anybody telling me like, oh, don't sign a major. I had a guy that was trying to fucking get me signed for a while that I knew was a snake, but I was like, all right, fuck it. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. So he got me, he got me into the system. And then I started like writing songs with bigger people and like kind of, really learning more about that. And then there was that 3-year stint that I was in the major label system, 2006, 2009. And then in 2009, no record came out. And then in 2009, I got a publishing deal. And I just was like, put my head down and started writing songs for other people, which I thought was my life. So that was when I let go of the artist thing completely. I just really was like, almost like, okay, now I don't have to be looked at. I don't have to be like, what is your look? What is your sound? What's your song? And then I just embarked on this this more subtle path, which I kind of dug. You know what I mean? I oddly didn't miss touring at all. I mean, I wasn't exposed to great touring as it was, but from 2006 to like 2011, I hadn't toured at all. When I was like touring for like 5 years before that, like nonstop. And so in that time, I really hustled. I was like doing like in fact, it broke up my long-term relationship. I was with my girlfriend in New York, living with her on the Lower East Side. And then I was like going back and forth like I was when I was signed to the labels. And I was going back and forth just to write songs. And then I started writing all these different kinds of songs. And that's like how I got like all this, like this eclectic bunch of music, like with like fucking Rihanna and then like Joe Walsh did one of my songs, the Backstreet Boys, Christina Aguilera, was like all over the place. Cause I was just trying to get in any fucking room I could because I was like, this is what I got to do, and it's volume. When you're a songwriter, you want as many fucking songs out there to like be generating, income. And then I wrote a few songs that were just for me through like I picked up a ukulele and it just like it broke through my arm and my heart because I just was like, it was this little dinky stupid instrument that I was just like, okay, and just started writing shit on it. And then all of a sudden it was like it was like a breakthrough. And then I got signed to Warner Brothers as an artist in 2011, which I was not expecting. And all that eclectic shit that I was doing kind of like funneled into my artist thing. I was really focused on just being a songwriter. And then I became an artist again. I was like, oh shit. And it just happened like that. Like, I think if I had gone like, this is how I'm going to do it, I'm going to write songs, it wouldn't have happened.
How much do you songwrite for other people or with other people still?
I'm not doing it much, but I like to. I've just been so busy, and it seems like everything I write seems like my own. Like, I mean, I also like kind of, I'm like, just shuttle songs, into like to the side for people to pick over if they want. Like even Celine Dion did a song of mine on her last record, and she just picked a song that I had written for my record at that time, for Church's last record, and I was like, shit, Celine, I would have fucking written you a song, a better song than that, because I didn't even want to put that on my record, but she killed it. Do you guys write for other people?
Not really. Like, we have done writing over the years, but what you're talking about, which I think is really disciplined and almost habitual, like that kind of like writing all the time. Yeah. I don't think either of us have ever been particularly devoted to that. And I have nothing but respect for people who are just professional songwriters. I think it requires a lot of discipline that I think Tegan and I have just been so consumed by the artist part of like keeping ourselves afloat that we would dip our toe in, and then it's sort of like it's easy to get distracted. And I just I'm always like honored when people want to work on stuff with us or collaborate with us. And I think it's still one of those things of like I know we're known by lots of people as great songwriters, but I think it's still one of those things that it's almost like we're still proving ourselves as songwriters in some way. But you've had such an interesting career in terms of like having so much success as a songwriter. And then also like this, which is, and again, people don't always understand this, like it is hard to do what you did, like to go from being the songwriter to becoming an artist who is known in the way that you are. Tegan and I are talking a lot about this right now because we're like, you know, in our 40s and we're looking at like, okay, we've accomplished a lot of things, but like, what else do we want to accomplish that could be like creative, be bucket list shit. But like, what for you is like, what's sort of like the stuff that you still want, or what's sort of like fueling you these days?
You know, endless fucking desire to write more songs, you know, to like kind of connect. I'm just absolutely obsessed and fascinated with that 3.5-4 minutes of like glory, you know, and not whatever's popular or whatever, you know. But you know, like I'm really I love my new record right now. You know, I'm like, this is like just starting this cycle, and but you know, I'm like, I hope it's connecting. I don't know. I think I won't know it. You know how sometimes you don't know until you get out there, because it's not like, you know, I'm not like Post Malone, you know. But I'm really excited to, you know, play this stuff for people, and I got a few more, you know, records in the immediate future, and then I don't know what comes after that, but maybe a memoir. So, you know, like the working title right now is One for the Nursing Home. But I will see. I want a person that when they discover me, it's like kind of like if you had a 1-bedroom in New York and you like knocked down the wall in the closet and there was just like a mansion in there. Like, what is this? Holy shit, you know, like, and people like wading through like records and records and records, you know. So
I think that's super cool and super interesting. I mean, Sara and I talk about that all the time. Like I won't adopt it for Sara, but certainly my mantra the last like year has been lean into legacy. And to me, that's got a lot to do with catalog. Cool. I'm not saying that we're done writing. We're not. We write all the time. But I think for me, there's a lot of joy in creating a set list for a tour and pulling from the back catalog and watching people discover like different eras of our music. And we were just recently like had lunch with Jack Antonoff, and we were talking about like what we were going to do next. And he made this like offhand comment, but I really thought a lot about it and I laughed about it. But he's like, you're like one TikTok video away from someone discovering Back in Your Head or Closer all over again. And you'll be like, oh man, I got to like play those songs again.
What's that song by Jane? Is it the one that everybody's dancing? Yeah. Like that.
You keep seeing these songs like be
it's true.
adopted. I mean, even Closer to Fine, like being in the Barbie movie and like, you know, it's like, I think that for a band like us, I definitely don't adhere or buy into this idea that your, you know, first couple of records, that's it. And then everything you make after that is just kind of derivative. I don't agree with that because actually our biggest records were our 5th record and our 7th record.
I think you guys are always pushing yourselves to like, you know,
do something different, take risks.
More stuff of yourself, you know, like another aspect of yourself. And that's so dope.
Yeah. And I think you can do that. I think as artists, I think there was a time in our career where we were sort of almost taught to think that like being nostalgic or to rely too much on the past was bad. But I don't agree, because I think that especially artists like us, like all of us who tour, the reality is that a lot of people stop going to concerts. That's the reality. You constantly have to be reintroducing yourself to a new audience, because young people are the ones for the, you know, most part who come out and buy merch and get wild and histrionic online and buy merch and pledge their love to you. And it sort of keeps the ecosystem flourishing. And so for me, I think reinventing ourselves is super important for every new record, but I also think we should not abandon what we've created.
No, and you know, it is legacy. I mean, I think like every documentary now you see of an artist, you could tell that it's really geared toward legacy.
Yeah.
Like they're really showing you, like if you watch like a really good example, I thought was like the Eric Clapton one. It was just like, he was like showing you all these different, past things. And, you know, and also it speaks to what you were just saying about, I mean, listen to the different voices of that guy over his career. Like he's like singing in these weird, you know, Bob Dylan too. Sometimes you're just like, what is the lady voice? What the fuck is that?
There was all that controversy on like line about the Billboard article that said like record industry execs are despondent because they can't figure out how to create, like career artists or icons or, of past generations. And, I rarely weigh into this stuff, especially online, because who cares? But I tweeted out a thread of basically being like, I mean, you have to invest.
They killed the whole idea of that. When I got signed to Warner Brothers, they were like, you're like a career artist, a legacy artist. What's the other fucking word they had? I mean, they were just like the shit that they fucking, I can only imagine, what you guys heard, but the shit they said to me. And then all of a sudden it was like, I played them Lost on You, and the new president like dropped me after I played him that, and which was a huge favor because I owed the record company like $1.6 million, and that's like all gone. I didn't have to deal with that. But it's just so funny that when I first got a major label deal, it'd be like, they'd be like, I knew it. I always knew you were a star. You were a star. It's a star. You can't stop a star now, can't? And then when I got dropped, they'd be like, I mean, what are you going to do with that? There's no way to market that. I don't know how you do it. And then I fucking get another fucking deal. They'd be like, that's what a star does. A star rises from the ash like a phoenix. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Not to pick on the young folks, but like you had to be resilient. You've had these ups and downs, and it's totally nauseating to hear people sort of twist that into a narrative that works to their advantage, not necessarily yours. I think people now, there is such an obsession with breaking fast and breaking over and over again. Most of us, that started 20 years ago, we always saw it as like, not necessarily breaking, but you have to be able to rise and fall. That's just natural.
Yeah, it's good for you.
It is.
What's more?
Well, I always say the plateau, I don't even think it is falling. I just think of it as like after a peak, like after Walking with a Ghost, for example, with Sara and I, we plateaued. It wasn't bad. We were at a whole other level, but we plateaued for a bit, which gave us time to organize our thoughts, develop our live show, to reach that bigger audience and connect with them and build a relationship, live some life. And then it was like when Closer hit, when we did the pop songs thing, it's like we had structure. Like we didn't fall apart because we at that point had 13 years of structure and foundation and support and understanding of how the business works. We had boundaries. We knew who we were. And then we plateaued. We've been on a plateau ever since. I don't think of it as failure. I think of it as time to figure out what do you build next. It's foundational.
Well, you guys really kind of went on a reinventing thing that I think is badass and pretty noble. I kind of like stick to the program for myself. I mean, I have some like, whatever dance tracks out that like, I had like, in Europe and stuff, I have like, I don't know, I like to do that kind of shit sometimes, but I haven't really, I don't know about reinvent. I think this record for me feels very fresh, so I'm happy with it. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like a sort of a return to form, but it doesn't feel same, but I don't know.
So, but in some ways that goes back to like the beginning of our conversation too, where there's something about you that is timeless. Like to me, your voice and the sort of thing that you're really tapping into. And not to dog on us, but like Tegan and I are working with some deficits. We are not natural singers.
Come on.
Oh, I know you're going to say that, but trust me, we know what our strengths are, our personality and our charm and our storytelling and the way that we can sort of take the sort of temperature of the cultural mood. Those are the things that we naturally did as individuals, just as like teenagers. We were kind of like, when people will be like, when I was a kid, like artists, they'll be like, I was a fucking loser and like people hated me and they like rose up and now I'm the most popular thing or whatever. Like we don't have that. We were kind of popular. Like we always sort of like we were weirdos and we were like misgendered. We were people still kind of liked us. Like even when because I think we were, we were kind of like,
are fucking adorable.
We were cute and we were like twins and we had good personalities and whatever. So like, I think actually kind of gets back to this idea too, that like, that reinvention thing is also like, that's one of the ways that we challenge ourselves. I think, internally within our own band, it's less about like, commercial success or about like surprising people. It's actually more just about keeping ourselves interested. We're kind of in this like endless loop of, I always think of it like sports that require only two people. Like Tegan and I are playing tennis against each other. We're not playing against the industry. We're not a doubles team. We are playing against each other. And so to reinvent ourselves is a way to sort of keep ourselves passionate and alive. But I was thinking about this idea, when we were talking about like, looking at our past and this kind of idea that for a lot of us, there's this kind of like primal wound or this like initial thing that inspired us to sort of like go out into the world and and make music. It's as in the beginning, it sort of is like it's a healing thing, I think. And this idea of remembering, I was reading in this book the other day, this I thought this was so beautiful, but if you break down the word remembering, like a remembering, meaning like to reassemble ourselves again and again.
Yeah. I never thought about that. It's dismember, remember.
And it's never done. When you've suffered something, it can be a breakup or it can be sort of deeper than that. But I feel like this, to be in this stage of sort of remembering is to also be like a self-soothing or a self-healing or whatever. But do you feel that pressure to sort of like, I know you're saying your sound hasn't totally evolved, but do you feel like your message has had to evolve?
No, I think your sound has evolved. I mean, I think I can push it further, I think. But I think that, a lot of my songs are trying to heal myself, or me trying to pump myself up. There's usually on every record, there's songs that are like, I have a song on this record called Golden, it opens it up. And it's just like me going like, it's not that bad. I know I did some fucked up shit. Well, you did some fucked up shit. And, but we're fine. We learned a lot. Like, it helped us. It facilitated the next relationship. How's that? Let's just look at it positively. Then I'm also, kind of, commiserating with other people like that, are in these, I guess relationship things or whatever, but it's like cathartic. It's how I exercise the demons out and then, use them to like, again, like commiserate with people about, our commonality and whatever. And I don't know, like sometimes, be in an interview and I'll get into something with like, I'll just be like, I don't like this motherfucker. Cause they're just like, a relationship songs. I was like, what the fuck you want me to write about? Fucking taxes, fucking, like, I mean, it's not the motherfucking 60. Dude, it's like, it's just like, also every song on the radio is basically, I talk about, a night out. I could do that, but wow.
We've gone down that path so many times with journalists. We also, I think that this is probably something that gets thrown more at women than men, but like this idea that like writing about your relationship is a bad thing or somehow makes your music not as significant. And I totally disagree. We're all obsessed with the human condition and our lives are just a series of relationships we have with people. Yeah. And I think the exploration of that through music is noble. And there's an enormous amount of vulnerability and peeling back the layers and work that you're doing on yourself that helps literally like hundreds of thousands of people around the world. So fuck them. But I have like one question, like as we sort of get near the end of this conversation, again, bookending things with like you started this by talking about how you're about to head out on tour. I don't know exactly how to articulate this question, but like, having just gone back to touring, we basically had taken like almost a 5-year hiatus from touring, but going back to it has been really wonderful and regenerative and cathartic and exciting. But I feel self-conscious on stage, and I never used to feel self-conscious on stage.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know what that's about. I've been like talking about it with a lot of other artists, but I feel that post-pop, because our show, we're playing to a click and we're all on in-ears and the lights are, time code. And like, I don't feel free up there.
Yeah,
Curious.
Don't do that. Yeah. So you're asking me if I feel free?
Yeah. Yeah.
How free do you feel?
Yeah.
Well,
like, how do you feel on stage? What does it feel like as you prepare to go on tour? Like for me, it's like preparing for, like, it's intense and it's exciting and it's really, really, really disciplined. And that's really good for Sara and I think we've excelled we've really grown as artists because of this. It's not all bad, but I don't feel free. Yeah. What do you feel like?
Well, I'm pretty like disciplined on tour. And the biggest thing for me, just personally, it's just like my relationship with my voice on stage and like this endless fucking monitor man situation that I've kind of had because like they're so integral to like everything I'm trying to do up there, and I'm just really so at their mercy in a way. Like I wish I could hear everything so beautifully in my ears the way it is on the record. And so sometimes like one of the guys will get my monitor mixed by mistake and they're like, Jesus Christ, what's happening there? Because I'll be like, it'll get whittled down to just a fucking click.
Yeah, that's Sara.
The guitar, my voice blasting, and they're like, and I'm like, yeah, it's not fucking fun, man. It depends on the night, taking out one of my in-ears and like, fucking up one of my ears because of that, not too bad, but just like trying to hear the crowd, trying to feel that visceral connection, you know, and that is, you know, that's the endless quest, you know. I mean, I do wonder sometimes, you know, what it must have felt like to be like the fucking Allman Brothers or something like that. It's like, let's just go into this other song. I hate this word, but let's jam.
Yeah, let's jam. Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I'm jealous of that scenario.
Do you feel like you think mostly about music on stage, or do you think about the audience?
I want to make like the show and like the whole presentation of the song unforgettable. But yeah, I'm so like locked into the audience. I kind of had to like change my voice teacher and stuff, because I literally had to like my golf swing got all fucked up, because when I got bigger, I was like, I felt like I was projecting, because I try to look at like literally every single fucking person in the audience. I'm a weirdo like that. That's like my favorite part of it, you know, is like really just like like trying to acknowledge every person.
So like your pie chart, would the bigger piece of the pie be that you think mostly about how to connect to the audience and less about like what you're hearing or performance? Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you're like, my in-ear could absolutely suck a bag. And I'm like, fuck it. I don't have the time, or I don't want to distract my energy from the audience by being like, can you fucking, every once in a while I'll turn around and be like, can you sweeten it up a bit? Can you make me sound like I can actually fucking sing, please? Thank you.
Fascinating. I could just talk for hours about this topic. Monitors is like no one else is as interested as I think singers in particular. People just don't. We talk about this with the band all the time. Like, I just don't think anyone understands. It's so specific to like, you're trying to feel it and connect with the audience. And yeah, it's so fascinating.
I mean, even writing sometimes, writing for other people or something like that, but writing for myself the most, it's like, if I sound shitty to myself in the mix when I'm trying to like invent this melody and these words, I'm really bummed out, because like, I mean, make it sound like it's already fucking on the radio.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Yes,
and then if someone doesn't get it back to me like that, and that's the thing, I'm always like forever like, hey, what does it sound like? Can you guys connect? Because I'll hear in the house and it'll sound good, and I'll be like, why can't it be a direct line like to what I'm hearing in the house, so I know? And that's how I was like kept taking out my in-ear, on this one, and it's a really dangerous thing to do, but you can tell if the audience is grasping it,
Yeah.
It feels like 95% of the time they are, but I can tell immediately if I'm just like, and then that's when I'll take one out and be like, the fuck is going on?
Yeah, what's happening out there? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the mystery of being a performer sometimes too. Like, we'll get off stage and think to ourselves, wow, like, Sarah and I might come off stage and be, wow, that was a bad crowd. And the guys in the band will be like, wow, that was amazing. And it'll be like our biggest merch night of the tour.
I'm like, that was brutality. And they're like, that was fucking the best show I think we've done on this tour. I'm like, I'm fucking kidding.
I know. So it's like, it's always just trying to figure out how not to be in your head.
Tegan and I have profoundly different ways of being on stage, I think, in terms of like what we need in order to feel comfortable and like perform. I pretty much use my in-ears as earplugs. I mean, I hear click and I hear my voice. The suggestion of music needs to be there, which is its own sort of like insane balance, but I need to trust myself and what I can hear in my own body. So like for me, like to just hear my own voice in my body, like with a lot of people are just like, that sounds like a nightmare. But when I can hear my head voice and when I can control the timbre of my voice through my actual bones, like my skull, like
the sizzle,
that's what I need. I can't trust a mix. Like I can't trust a good mix or a bad mix. So I almost like relearned how to sing, just hearing it through the actual, just like vibration in my skull or something.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to explain, but it's tempered how I feel as a performer. Like I don't love performing the way that I did when I was like a young person, and I could like Tegan and I would show up at like house parties and it'd just be scorchingly loud and everything was out of tune and it was just power.
You're getting like shocked by the mic.
For real. I watched back video of us like performing those first couple years when we were still on monitors, like live monitors, and it's just power. It's loud and it sounds like shit, and it's like, but it felt so good. And really, I mean, what we're all talking about here is just like getting what we desire, like the feeling that we desire on stage is not always in the best interest of what it sounds like to the audience, and finding some sort of chemistry between each other, where it's like we sound good enough for the audience to be excited, but we also feel good. Is like it is just it's the quest of our lives.
That's why I like my new sound guy. I'm my front of house guy is dope, and he's like, I like finally, because it's hard, there's nothing worse than getting off stage and feeling like it was great, like you were saying, but then the audience goes, I just wish I could hear you more.
Yeah.
I mean, can I have a moment?
Well, my least favorite question or comment is when someone comes backstage after the show and they say, "How was it for you?"
Oh my! Did you have fun up there?
Yeah, like that's not what I want to hear.
My favorite. I want to hear. I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah,
like,
tell me how much fun you had and how good it was. Start there.
Did you have fun up there? I was like, please come and get this person whoever this fuck this is.
This has been such a delight to talk to you.
You too.
Thank you for
fucking
humoring
love you guys, and I just absolutely think you're the best, and it's just such an honor to talk to you.
Well, it was
so much
amazing
respect
to get to jump into your artist brain. And
please come to Vancouver so we can come out and see you play.
Yeah, and not to sound like some douchebag, but let's write a song. Could we?
Yeah,
I never really
maybe we should.
thought about it, but then
Sarah
I was
and I never do
you know
it.
what? Why can I not write a song with you guys? I would love that. I mean, and it could be for me, it could be for other people. I don't want to ever say like, hey, let me write a song for you guys. Like,
let's write a song for Celine. Yeah, no, I'm in.
That'd be great. When you guys ever come to LA, do you come to LA even just for nice beer or something? Did you guys drink beer or anything?
We do drink, yeah.
You do? Sick.
We do.
Okay, good. I'd love to have you over.
Awesome.
Make you a fucking martini, margarita, whatever the hell you want.
Delicious.
Love it.
Negroni, zombie.
That's exactly what I'm saying. We're living the life.
I just had my first martini. It was really fun.
What kind of martini? Gin or vodka?
It was a vodka martini. I'd never had one. It was less gross than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, wow. Martinis, when they're made properly, are good, and they can't be big. They're small.
Just little teenies. Yeah. This was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much. You guys are lovely and so fucking talented. And yay, have a great rest of your tour.
Thanks for listening to the Talkhouse Podcast, and thanks to Tegan and Sara and LP for chatting. If you liked what you heard, please follow Talkhouse on your favorite podcasting platform and check out all the good stuff at talkhouse.com. This episode was produced by Myron Kaplan, and the Talkhouse theme is composed and performed by The Range. See you next time.